Okay, so e.l.f. has been launching so many makeup products for summertime. 2024 has been like the year of e.l.f. They have a new launch every week or two, but I feel like it's really been picking up over the last few weeks. So I have pretty much all of them here to talk about in today's video. I thought I could try a lot of them on camera for the first time. I was actually going to do like an entire testing new drugstore video because a lot of other brands are coming out with new makeup for summer as well, but I have so many e.l.f. products, I thought I would split them up. So today I'm focusing on e.l.f. launches, and then probably over like the next week, I'll do another video on the other drugstore products. Okay, the first thing I want to start with is this new moisturizer from e.l.f. This is the Holy Hydration Gel Yeah Moisturizer. I wanted to pick this up because I love pretty much all of the Holy Hydration line, but especially their moisturizers. This one is a true gel moisturizer. So if you have oily skin or you want something that sinks in quickly, or you want something really lightweight for the summertime, this is probably going to be your best bet. But I tested it out today and I did mix it with the e.l.f. bronzing drops. I have the shade Pure Gold. So I applied these probably like 30 or 40 minutes ago at this point, and I did apply a little bit of sunscreen on top. So I'll show you what they look like as they're going on. They actually mixed really well together, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case because this is like a true gel texture. I feel like sometimes products don't mix super well with gels, but I didn't have any issues at all. And I do like the way it looks. It just gives my skin a little bit of a bronze glow. Now my skin tends to be pretty red, and sometimes bronzing drops can enhance the redness that I'm dealing with, but I do feel like it is kind of a nice summertime option if you don't want to go in with like foundation or concealer and you just want a little bit of a bronzed glow. So e.l.f. did bring back some of the Jelly Pop products for summertime. This primer has come and gone so many times. It was limited edition one summer, and then they brought it back the next summer. It almost feels like every single summer they're going to bring this back. I wish they would just make it permanent because so many people love it, but I'm going to be using this in today's video. I think I'm also going to be using the Jelly Pop Glow Stick. I loved this product when they first launched it, so I'm happy it's back. And then a new addition to the collection, they have the Glow Reviver Lip Oil. Okay, so let's start with this. It does have a light watermelon scent. It's not over the top. The original ones have a mint scent, which it's grown on me a little bit, but minty scented lip products don't tend to be my favorite, so I kind of wish they all had like a fruity scent. I can definitely see the shimmer and the swatch on my hand. It almost has a little bit of like a peachy flip to it when the light hits it a little bit differently. On the lips, I'm not really getting that, but I do think it is a fun option for summer if you like watermelon scented products. A few summers ago, I wanted like everything watermelon scented. But if you're already happy with the e.l.f. lip oils you have, you're not going to get like a big difference with this one. Maybe over like a nude lipstick, it would pop a little bit more, but I just wanted to try it out because I did purchase it. So I do have the new e.l.f. foundation. I'm so excited to try this out. I think I said in the beginning of this year, or like at the end of last year, I was really hoping that e.l.f. was going to launch a new foundation soon, and I felt like it had to be coming because they have added so many products to their line, but it's been a while since they've done a foundation. So before I go in with this, I am going to use primer, and I'm going to use the Jelly Pop primer, and then I'm actually going to apply a little bit of eye primer too, because I tend to go over my eyes with just like a little bit of foundation to cancel out the redness. So for the eyes, I'm using the new Lock It Down eyeshadow primer. This, I assume, is supposed to maybe be a dupe for the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. I actually don't use eyeshadow primer as much as I used to. Like these days, sometimes I'll just go over my lid with a little bit of concealer and then powder to lock it into place. But I do feel like during the summertime, I've noticed that my eyeshadow can crease a little bit faster just because it is hot outside and my eyelids are a little bit more oily. I used to like their original eyeshadow primer. I don't know if they even still make it anymore, to be honest. It kind of reminds me of the old formula. It's a little bit thinner, kind of liquidy. I'm going to keep the eyes pretty simple today. I'm trying out the new foundation. I kind of want the complexion to be the focus, but we'll see if this helps to lock things into place because I do notice, like I said, by the end of the day, sometimes I'll have a lot of creasing where I wouldn't normally deal with that. Okay, so this new foundation is supposed to have more of like a satin finish, which is interesting. I was swatching it earlier, trying to decide which shade would work for me. Unfortunately, I didn't get like a great shade, so I think I might mix them together. But once it dried down, it almost looked like a matte foundation, which I thought was strange just based on the description. So I was trying to decide if I should use the e.l.f. Liquid Poreless Putty Primer or use the e.l.f. Power Grip. And I am going to test it with the e.l.f. Liquid Poreless Putty Primer next time I wear it, but I figured I would use the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer. This is very, very similar to the Power Grip, but it's a little bit thinner. And this one does have a watermelon scent, so if you don't like scented products, this is not going to be the one for you. But this just creates a very glowy, hydrated base, but because it is sticky, You know what? I haven't used this in a little while, and I don't think it's quite as sticky as the Power Grip, which is interesting. I actually used to like this a little bit better than the Power Grip when it first launched, and then because it was discontinued and it was like a limited edition product, I just didn't use it as much because most of the time when I'm using products, I'm filming about them, and I don't always talk about a lot of limited edition products. So I basically just switched and started using the Power Grip more regularly, but I like the fact that this feels a little bit thinner and not quite as sticky. Okay, so I'm excited to try the new foundation. This is the Soft Glam Satin Finish Foundation. It's supposed to be a long-wearing, medium buildable coverage foundation. It retails for $8, which is a great price, especially because a lot of e.l.f. products can be pretty expensive these days, and it comes in 36 different shades. Unfortunately, I don't think I got a shade that will work great for me, so I'm going to mix them together. So I do like their Flawless Finish Foundation, which is still available. A lot of people were wondering if this is replacing that or if, it's very similar to that. I read some comments online. Let me just swatch these while I'm talking. I read some comments online saying the ingredients were very, very similar. So I looked and they are pretty similar. Just swatching this though, it doesn't feel the same as that foundation. Like this one feels a little bit thicker. I think it's going to have more coverage. The other one was a little bit thinner. Like it was a true liquid foundation, where this one almost has a little bit of like a cream feel to it. So this one is 15 Fair Warm, and then this one is, what did I say? It was 21 Light Neutral. Honestly, e.l.f. makes the best foundation brushes. I just did a video last week on like my favorite makeup products for summer, and I talked about the e.l.f. Buffing Foundation Brush and the e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. I didn't wash these. I should have washed them last night so I could have actually used one. I thought I had another one, but I don't know. I can't find it right now. So those are both great options. I prefer to apply my foundation with a brush. Today, I'm just going to use this one from IT Cosmetics. It's kind of like not a mix between the two, but I feel like the density and the shape of it like falls right between them. So this foundation does come in a squeeze tube, but I don't think this is going to be a great match for me. I don't know if I mixed enough of the darker one. Actually, now that I'm blending it out, I feel like it could match. Let's just get it on and we'll see how it looks. So anyway, what was I saying? It comes in a squeeze bottle, which I think is kind of nice for traveling. I never love to bring a big glass bottle with me because it takes up a lot of room. It's kind of heavy for my makeup bag. So I like the fact that it does come in a squeeze tube, and it is a thicker foundation. So I don't feel like you're going to need a ton of it. And based on what I saw this morning as I was just watching a couple of reviews, it looks like you can sheer it out if you do prefer to use a beauty sponge, or you can build it up if that's something you want to do too. So I think it's going to be pretty customizable, both in the finish, but also depending on which primer you pair it with. So I definitely am curious to apply it on top of the Liquid Poreless Putty Primer, which is my other favorite. I love the Power Grip. I love the Liquid Poreless Putty Primer. The Liquid Poreless Putty Primer is really thin, very mattifying, very smoothing. The Power Grip is a little bit thicker, very hydrating, but also still very smoothing, and they both extend the wear of your makeup. My skin is combo, leaning oily, and I find that I like them both. It just kind of depends on the look I'm going for. I know that I'm using the Jelly Pop today, but I feel like it does the same thing as the Power Grip. It's just a little bit of a different texture. Anyway, this is going on really nicely. It's definitely a little bit warmer than I would prefer, and maybe just like slightly too dark because I did end up mixing in a little bit more of the deeper shade, but I think it will be fine. So this is a pretty good layer of the foundation. I have a little bit more on my hand, so I'm just going to slightly build it up in the areas where I feel like I could use a little more coverage, which for me is like right around my cheeks because I have dealt with some breakouts there. So sometimes I have like some scarring around my chin just for the same reasons. And I feel like my foundation tends to wear off on my chin the fastest because I guess I'm just touching it or kind of leaning on my chin sometimes throughout the day as I'm editing. This cheek over here, and then just around my nose as well. Okay, so here's how the foundation looks on my skin. I don't use a filter on my videos, obviously. I deal with a lot of texture. My skin definitely isn't super smooth, and like I said, it's been breaking out lately. So here's what it looks like on textured skin, and I think it looks really good. It has a nice glow to it, which I definitely attribute mostly to the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer. I'm definitely curious to see how this looks on top of a mattifying primer. I definitely find it to be buildable. Like if you go in with a small amount and really buff it into the skin, especially if you're using something like the e.l.f. Buffing Foundation Brush, you're going to be able to get more of a natural look, but you can also stipple it and build it up really well, which is what I typically do with the Ultimate Blending Brush. I mean, this one from IT Cosmetics works too, but you don't have to use this brush. Anyway, let's move on to cheek products. And again, I know it's looking a little bit warm tone, but I feel like it will come together in the end. So I did buy a new brush from e.l.f. This is the Cream and Powder Face Brush. One side is meant to be used with creams, the other side with powder. This is the Makeup Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer in the shade Light. I'm just going to use this to bronze up the skin. Okay, this is pretty dense. I don't know if I'm going to love this for cream bronzer. I tend to like something a little bit fluffier for cream bronzer. My favorite cream bronzer brush, not just from e.l.f., but in general, is the Complexion Duo brush. This one's a little bit fluffier, so I think I'm actually going to flip or switch. The reason why I don't tend to love like such a dense, hard brush for creams is because it can kind of lift my foundation, whereas this one is very light. It's very forgiving. So when I am applying creams on top of liquid, it doesn't lift any of my foundation underneath. And then I'm just going over the edges with my foundation brush. I need e.l.f. to do what is it? Camo Liquid Bronzer. Now that they've done like the Camo Liquid Blushes, my favorite brush for liquid blush and cream blush is this one from Real Techniques. This is the Tapered Cheek Brush. I mean, I also like the Complexion Duo brush for blush as well, but I feel like this is a little bit more ideal for blush because of the shape. I feel like it just applies blush perfectly. So I am going to be using the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush in the shade Peach Perfect. This is my favorite shade that they do, just because it is pretty soft and natural, and I feel like it's hard to go overboard with this. Again, I did do a video recently on my favorite drugstore makeup products for summer, and I used one of their brighter blushes. It's like a peachy tone or a coral tone, and I mixed it with this, and that was really pretty, especially if you want like a really bright pop of color on the cheeks. But day to day, I definitely like something a little bit softer, more natural. For concealer, I'm just going to be using the Catrice True Skin Concealer. This one is in the shade, I think it's Cool Cashmere. Yeah, Cool Cashmere. And again, a very hydrating formula, but once I set everything in place with powder, like these products will not move. And then I'm just going to blend this in with my concealer brush. And again, just kind of go over the edges so everything looks a little bit more seamless. I feel like applying concealer afterwards just creates a little bit more of like a flawless look. And then sometimes I have to go in and kind of touch it up. Like I feel like I maybe went over the blush a little bit too much, but maybe I applied a little bit too much concealer. I don't know. I feel like my makeup always turns out better if I'm not filming, which probably isn't a great skill for someone who films makeup videos as my job. But when I'm talking and trying to make sure like I'm in frame and I'm, covering all the steps, I just feel like sometimes I look at my makeup at the end of the video and I'm like, that could have been a little bit better. So just bear with me. But I really do like filming these videos just so you can see how the products apply in real time to like non-filtered skin. Don't get me wrong, I like TikTok. I watch TikTok, I make TikTok videos. I more so like to use it as kind of like a big roundup style video where I can just like make quick recommendations. And then if you want more of an in-depth recommendation, you can watch my YouTube videos. Anyway, let's set everything into place with powder. Okay, so for powder, I've actually been loving the ColourPop, what is this called again? Pretty Fresh powder. I have the shade Fair 4. I loved this when they first launched it, and then I kind of rediscovered it. I feel like it's such a good summer option because it mattifies the skin so well. You don't even have to use a lot. Like I barely put any on my sponge, and it just smooths everything out. It mattifies it, so your products are locked into place, and it doesn't feel heavy on the skin. I mean, you can see the difference. That's just a small amount. You could go in with more if you want, or you can use like a fluffy brush for a little bit of a more diffused application. But if you have oily skin, this is such a good option. I know I'm putting concealer and powder on my eye and I use that primer, but lately I've been applying concealer and powder and that doesn't really cut it. So we'll see if that primer helps underneath. I hope they're not discontinuing this powder because it was on sale on Ulta's website the other day. And then I feel like there are a couple of shades out of stock on ColourPop's website. And if they discontinue this right after I just rediscovered it, I'll be so sad. It really does just smooth out the skin and lock everything into place really well. So I'm just going to apply this to the center of my face as well, where I tend to get the most oily, and then I'll use like a big fluffy brush to apply it everywhere else, just for like a light dusting of powder. Now, if you're not a powder person, you might think that this just completely erases the natural glow those products give, and I definitely understand, but if you have oily skin, then you probably know your skin's going to end up looking oily or glowy, however you want to phrase it, fairly soon after you powder. The only thing about using a powder that has a little bit of coverage is if you're going in with a light hand with your cream cheek products, they're going to fade quite a bit, which is why I usually do go over them with a little bit of powder as well, like a powder bronzer, a powder blush. And some people are like, it kind of defeats the purpose to go over creams with powders or like set creams and then go in with powders. But again, during the summertime especially, I feel like it makes a difference because it just helps everything last a little bit longer. So I'm going to do my brows off camera just to save a little bit of time, and I'll be right back. So I'm just going to take my tried and true favorite, the e.l.f. I Love You a Latte palette. I'm mainly going to be using this shade in the crease, and then I might use a little bit of this on top just to kind of blend out the edges. So what I've been doing is just taking kind of like a larger brush and just applying this shade or the other shade in here, this one, to the crease. I mean, this is nothing new. I feel like I've been doing this for years. I'm going to kind of use a little bit of a stamping motion. So I used that e.l.f. primer, and it's interesting because even though I went in with concealer and I lightly set it, it still has a little bit of a tacky feel to it. So I do think that e.l.f. primer makes a difference in the way that my skin feels. And wow, that actually does look smoother than it normally does. So this is again something I say all the time, but I usually have a little bit of texture over here. And sometimes if I skip eyeshadow primer or I use one that doesn't do a whole lot, I feel like it's really enhanced, but it almost feels like, I'm just going to go in with that lightest shade on top. It almost feels like it's smoothed out because this entire area feels like there is a creamy feel to it, to the base. So we'll see how this eyeshadow wears. I'm going to pin a comment in the comment section below with a few updates. I'm filming this video just like a day or two before it actually goes up. So I'll have the chance to wear these products all day today and then probably an additional time or two so I can let you know how they wear initially. But of course I will come back in a few weeks and do, by the way, I'm just going back and forth between like that lightest shade and that brown shade. I will come back in a few weeks and share like full updates once I've worn everything multiple times. I think that's basically all I'm going to do for the matte shadow. And then I'm going to take a pencil brush. This one is from Profusion. It's the small pointed eyeshadow brush, ES6. I have a bunch of these because I use this one all the time on my lower lash line. And I'm just going to run a little bit of this on my lower lash line, and then I'll take a shimmer all over the lid. For the lid, I'm actually just going to take this highlighter. I dropped it yesterday and it completely shattered. And obviously, like a lot of products are going to shatter when you drop them, but these Rare Beauty highlighters are so fragile that I've broken almost every single one of them at this point. But I wear these as eyeshadow, so I feel like, you know, there's still a good amount in here that I can use it as eyeshadow for a little bit longer. This is in the shade Mesmerize. And like I said, this sometimes does have a tendency to crease a little bit by the end of the day. I mean, it's not an actual eyeshadow. I don't necessarily expect it to wear like an eyeshadow, but I swear these look so gorgeous on the eyes. Whenever I wear the gold one, I get so many questions what I'm wearing on the eyes. And I've been wearing this pinky toned one a lot during the summertime because I think it looks so beautiful. It's just very soft, really pretty. And when I don't want to do like a full on gold look, this one is perfect. So anyway, I'm just using the same brush and just kind of sweeping it all over the lid. I'm going to skip liquid liner, but I'm just taking this pencil liner from Too Faced. It's their Killer Liner in Killer Black, and I'm just going to tight line with this. I think it makes a difference if I skip liquid liner and I use this, because it just makes the base of the lashes look a little bit thicker. For mascara, I'm going to use the e.l.f. Lash Extender. So I got this in black again. I was using it in brown. I feel like one quick coat and then maybe like a second light coat on the tips of the lashes is really all you can do before it completely dries down. And it's really all you need. This mascara just lengthens so well. It's probably my favorite tubing mascara, honestly. It looks really good with very minimal effort. This isn't the type of mascara you're going to be able to really build up, and you don't have a ton of time to work with it. So let me just finish this eye really quick. I'm just kind of like trying to hit the ends of my lashes for a little extra length. look at the difference it makes. I have very short lashes, so it's not like you're going to see like a dramatic result when I use the mascara before and after, but I feel like this one actually does look really dramatic with just like one coat and then a little bit of extra on the ends. It really lengthens my lashes so well. It stays in place really nicely. So it is a good option during the summer when it's hot and humid outside. Because it's a tubing mascara, it removes with a little bit of water. It's natural, it's soft, but you still get drama because of the length, and I love it. So I'm a big fan of this mascara. I'm going to go in and kind of clean up the lash line because I got a little bit on there once it dries, but I think it's such a good formula, such a gorgeous option. Okay, I did order the Primer-Infused Matte Bronzer and Primer-Infused Matte Blush from e.l.f. They kind of relaunched these. I feel like they're going back and redoing some of their older products and adding like new shades or updating the colors and packaging. So I'm excited about this because this was my favorite bronzer of all time. I have not used it for years. I actually got the shade Tan O'Clock. Generally speaking, I'm not really as into powder bronzer these days, but I remember this one just applying so nicely to the skin. I can't get it open. It had like a very smooth texture to it. I feel like this shade will be nice. It has almost like a sheen to it. Actually, the sheen's a little bit more evident than I remember, but I like that. I like when bronzers have like a little bit of a natural glow in that way. I struggle with matte bronzers these days, and again, I feel like it's because I just have so much texture in this area. I feel like they can make my skin look textured. They can make my skin look even more textured. So sometimes I feel like even if I loved a bronzer in the past, that isn't always the case now. Oh, this looks so good. I'm so glad that they redid this line. This definitely has a very smoothing texture to it, which is what I need. Like that is where I notice the biggest difference when it comes to cheek products. I love it. It looks so good. And I feel like this color is perfect because it's subtle on my skin, but it's not too orangey. I'm so happy about this formula. It is powdery. Like as I dip into it, like there is powder all over the packaging, but that's okay. I think I actually like this better than the new NYX Buttermelt Bronzer. That's been my kind of my go-to lately, but this, it just looks so smooth on the skin. It's gorgeous. So now I feel like I have to try the blush. It melted into the skin in the perfect way. I feel like this formula is even better than it used to be, and I loved it back then. So I am so happy about this. Let's try a little bit of the blush. I got the shade Always Rosy, which I don't know if this is going to be the most flattering on my skin tone, and this is maybe a little bit warmer than I would typically go with an eye look like this. I'm just going to use the other side of the brush I was using for bronzer and just kind of lightly go over my cheek with this. This is a little bit peachier than I feel like I want for today's look, but again, it's going on very smoothly, very evenly. It's matte. This one doesn't look as glowy. Like the bronzer had a nice sheen to it, but I feel like this blush is looking full on matte on my skin. And it's been a long time since I've used like a true, yeah, this doesn't have the same glow to it. This is definitely more of a true matte blush. And I don't typically love like a full-on matte blush on my skin. I like a little bit of a glow. I might grab another shade or two just to see if that's the case like across the board, but I am so glad that they brought this line back because I feel like matte products are making a little bit of a comeback and it's nice to have an affordable option. I do want to use the Jelly Pop highlighter. I will say, or the Jelly Pop glow stick. In the past when I loved this product, I definitely found it was best for like either no makeup days or days where I was using a tinted moisturizer. I think I loved this around the same time that I loved the ColourPop tinted moisturizer, which I recently rediscovered, and I'm so happy I did because it looks amazing on the skin. But I almost remember this not being ideal to layer on top of matte products. I feel like it might lift them just a little bit, so I'm just going to lightly tap a very small amount in with my finger. Okay, that actually looks good. This is such a gorgeous product, and I remember it being so surprising to me because at the time I wasn't really into cream cheek products at all, but this actually gives your skin like that wet, you can kind of see it, like the light's hitting it. You can see the texture on my skin too, which is kind of inevitable with cream products, but it gives your skin that like wet, dewy look. It is so pretty. This is not the type of product that's going to really dry down. So if you're someone who doesn't love products that stay creamy on the skin, this won't be ideal for you. Like if you're wearing your hair down, it's going to stick to it, but it looks so good on the skin. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy they brought this back. Like that is a small amount. And I feel like in the past when I would wear this, I would just take the stick and like full on draw it in. but look how pretty that looks. Like it looks very natural, very luminous, but it doesn't look like fake. It does have like a very strong watermelon scent, which again, I love. I love watermelon scented products, especially in the summer. So for the lips, I did order the new e.l.f. lip gloss. They just launched one. I think it's called like their Sun Boss gloss. It has SPF 25, which I love. I typically use like the Jack Black lip balm that has SPF in it when I do want to apply that. And I'll be honest, sometimes I forget about my lips. I'll apply sunscreen to my face, my neck, ears, hands, everything, but then I forget about my lips. So that's really important too. So I love the fact that e.l.f. launched a lip gloss with SPF in it, because then it's easy just to reapply throughout the day to throw on. Anyway, that's available at Ulta. And when I was placing an order for a few other drugstore products, I ordered that, but it hasn't shipped yet. So hopefully it will be here soon. I actually have another lip gloss I'm going to talk about. Again, they redid those blushes and bronzers, but also their lip plumping glosses. They had these a while ago, and then I saw they did like a new applicator. They have some new shades, so I did order one. I figured I could use this today. So let me just start with the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner. This one is in the shade Pinky Swear. These are the best. If you haven't tried them yet, they're $2 lip liners. They are so creamy. They literally, like the name is perfect, Cream Glide, because they glide on the lips so nicely. This is maybe a little bit more pink than I was originally intending, but it's fine. I just wanted something to kind of define my lips before going in with this. I don't know why I ordered like the darkest shade they have. This is Praline. I feel like this is more of a fall lip color for me, but it's fine. I really wanted to just test out the formula. So this is supposed to be a sheer lip color. It is sheer, but at the same time, it has a little bit more pigment than I thought. Like that's a very sheared out layer. And I am wearing it on top of lip liner, but I feel like it's more vibrant than I thought it was going to be. It is tingling because it is supposed to be a plumping gloss, and I tried this a few years ago, but it never became like a staple in my routine because I actually don't have any of them. I do tend to like e.l.f.'s lip gloss formula. Like they did a lot of limited edition ones from that mint collection. I loved those so much. And then the like cookies and cream collection. So it looks pretty. It's very smooth. There's a little bit of a tingle. It's shiny. I mean, honestly, it feels nice. It feels like a lot of my other high-end glosses. I'm trying to think specifically. I mean, I want to say Buxom just because of the fact that it has that cool tingle. It does kind of look like Buxom on the lips, the ones without shimmer. It's maybe slightly sticky, not like full-on sticky by any means, but it's the type of sticky where you feel like it's actually going to stay in place. Okay, let me kind of gather all of the products together and then I'll share. Oh, I have two other products I want to share reviews on, and then I'll share some final thoughts on the new products I tried out. Okay, it's actually been a minute, but I wanted to say this really did plump up my lips. I even took a little bit of concealer and kind of erased it a little because it almost traveled outside of the lip line and my lips looked really, really full. So I do think this works to visibly plump up the lips, and it is really smoothing and really glossy, which adds to that plumping effect as well. But I did notice a difference in the way my lips looked after wearing this for maybe 10 minutes. There are two products that I didn't want to apply, but I did want to review because I've used them pretty thoroughly and they're newer launches. The e.l.f. Stay Cool Primer Stick. This is a nice option if you want something kind of smoothing, a little bit hydrating, but very, very lightweight. It's not going to make as much of a difference as the Jelly Pop Primer or the Power Grip Primer because it's not thick and it's not sticky. It just creates like a very hydrated, smooth effect, basically like you're applying a moisturizer, but even lighter than that. So I think this is nice to have on hand if you do your skincare and you're doing your makeup maybe later on and you feel like you just could use like an extra touch of moisture. I do like this product. And then I wanted to talk about the Power Grip Dewy Setting Spray. I don't think this is going to be an ideal option if you have oily skin. I thought it was going to be a dupe for the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Spray, but they are completely different. This one almost has an oily, somewhat greasy texture. So if you spray this on as a setting spray, your skin is going to look very dewy. But for me, my makeup wears off faster. So I don't like it as a setting spray. But if you have dry skin and you feel like your skin can never look hydrated enough, you might like it for that reason. I do think it works well as a priming spray. Probably not during the summer for me because, like I said, it has a little bit of an oily texture, but my skin looks and feels so dewy and smooth when I use this. So foundation does apply really beautifully on top. It doesn't necessarily wear longer, so I'm kind of surprised they launched it as part of the Power Grip line because the Power Grip products really do lock your makeup into place, whereas this gives your skin like a very hydrated, very dewy, glowy effect, but it doesn't extend the wear of your makeup. So I like the product, just not as it was initially intended, and definitely more so when my skin is leaning dry. in like the colder weather. So I probably won't use this again until the fall, but if you have dry skin, you might really like it. As for the other products I tried today, I think my favorite was the bronzer. This is so creamy, so gorgeous. It's better than I remember. It basically melts into the skin in the most gorgeous natural way. It doesn't look powdery or heavy or streaky or patchy. Like this is definitely going to be my number one bronzer. I can easily say that because it feels like it did when it was my favorite, but better. Like there's something extra smoothing about this. So I'm really excited about this. I do like the blush. I just don't wear matte blush as much. So I don't know that this will be, it won't become like a daily staple for me. But on days where I do want a matte blush, I might end up reaching for this. Again, check the pinned comment below because I'll let you know how these products wear throughout the day. But if they're anything like they used to be, they should be very long wearing because they have that primer infused aspect, which not only makes them very smooth, but also long wearing. Honestly, I think the foundation looks really good on my skin. This is something I'm going to have to test multiple times. I don't automatically want to say like run out and buy it because I really think foundations can wear differently depending on how you prep the skin, how you set the skin, what the weather is like, if your skin is extra oily or a little bit, problematic, if it's breaking out, like it just really depends. So I want to wear this multiple times before I give like a full review on it. But I do like the way it applied. I feel like I was able to build it up well. And honestly, like I was using a lot of products on top. I used creams, I used powders, setting powder, like a ton of things, and it doesn't look heavy or cakey on my skin. Initially, that was a little bit of a concern for me because it feels thicker. It definitely has a cream texture compared to like a typical liquid. Like when you apply this to the back of your hand, it's not going to slide down, it's going to stay in place. But I do think paired with a good hydrating primer, it doesn't feel like that or look like that on the skin. I could see this potentially looking a little bit cakey on top of a matte primer, but again, I'll keep you posted once I get the chance to try it a little bit more. I need to purchase a different shade. I feel like combined it turned out okay, still just like a touch off. So if you tend to wear the same foundation shades as me, please let me know which one you went with. I'm so happy the Jelly Pop line is back, at least for summer. I love the way this went on. I like the fact that it's just a little bit thinner than the Power Grip, and it does give your skin like that nice hydrated glow, but it doesn't feel as heavy on the skin, which I do really appreciate, especially for summer. Anyway, is that everything? Oh, the eyeshadow primer, really nice. It definitely gave my eyelids a very smooth feel, which I have been dealing with some dryness on my eyelids too, like you can kind of see it right here. So that's how I know it worked, because sometimes I'll experience skipping if I'm dealing with like extra dry areas, but not today. So as long as the eyeshadow doesn't fade by the end of the day, I could see this becoming a staple of mine. I think that's everything I tried out for the first time in today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I just feel really excited about a lot of these launches. I mean, e.l.f. as a whole is one of my favorite brands, but sometimes there are misses. And in this case, I feel like I had a lot of hits. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Come back in a few days because I'm going to do a video on other new drugstore makeup from different brands other than e.l.f. So I'll see you guys then.